So let me take this opportunity again to thank the participants. We've been able to reach out to almost, youthful people who are doing their things in terms of biodiversity conservation across Zimbabwe. So we want to welcome you all and thank you all for attending to this session. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our key note addresser, who is Mr. Tanyaradzwa Mundoga. Mr. Mundoga is with the Ministry of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry. He is the Deputy Director there in Natural Resources. Mr. Mundoga is rich experience in public service, having until he became the Deputy Director. So he's going to give us our keynote address. As you are aware that the Ministry of Environment is the global, what do we call it? It's the key informant in terms of the CBD processes in Zimbabwe. So Mr. Mundoga, if you can hear me, please go ahead and make a keynote address. Mr. Mundoga?
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me, Knowledge?
Yes, we can hear.
Hello?
You. Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Mundoga.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Vingi. Colleagues, I'm just going to go straight into the remarks that have been prepared for this consultative session on behalf of the Secretary for Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to deliver the opening statement at the second Zimbabwe Youth Consultation on the Zero Draft for the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. This important event comes at a crucial time, as we look forward to reach a major milestone in the history of biodiversity conservation and sustainable use by concluding a new deal for nature, people, and planet. This new deal, that is the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, is envisaged to be a stepping stone in achieving the Convention on Biological Diversity 2050 vision of living in harmony with nature. It comes at a time we face the COVID-19 pandemic, which reminds us of the importance of biodiversity in preventing future pandemics and treating diseases. The Ministry of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry welcomes this initiative by the Zimbabwe Youth Biodiversity Network and the Africa Wildlife Foundation to consult the youth on the draft Global Biodiversity Framework. I would like to acknowledge that today we are celebrating the International Youth Day, and the theme is Youth Engagement for Global Action. The post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework calls for youth engagement at local, national, and global levels to halt the loss of biodiversity, and therefore this consultation workshop for youth in Zimbabwe serves this important purpose. Youth's perspective is vital as they will partake and witness the implementation of the framework up to 2050. Therefore, this virtual workshop will therefore raise awareness on biodiversity and build the capacity of Zimbabwean youth on biodiversity issues. This will enable Zimbabwe to come up with a clear position on the global biodiversity framework so as to influence the development of an effective deal for nature and people. Capacitated youths will effectively participate in all biodiversity processes, which include formulation and implementation of biodiversity strategies and action plans, policies, and negotiations to bring about the transformative changes required to halt the loss of biodiversity. Zimbabwe Youth Biodiversity Network has thus made strides in raising awareness on biodiversity since its inception in 2017. The ministry therefore assures ensures continued support and looks forward to continued collaboration as we endeavor to conserve biodiversity for socio-economic development. The government of Zimbabwe recognizes the importance of biodiversity in achieving sustainable development goals, the Africa 2063 agenda, and the SADC vision and the National Vision 2030. As you might be aware, the government of Zimbabwe is crafting a new economic blueprint, the National Development Strategy, from 2021 to 2025. The new strategy will replace the Transitional Stabilization Plan, which is expiring at the end of 2020. We are delighted that the environment and natural resources sector has been identified as a key enabler in the development plan. We are therefore taking advantage of this recognition to ensure that biodiversity issues take center stage under this sector. The diverse nature of Zimbabwe's ecosystems provides for a variety of benefits from plants, animal species, as well as aesthetic characteristics. Biodiversity is the basis of survival of most of Zimbabwe's people who live in rural areas adjusted to protected areas and who mostly exploit natural resources for their livelihoods. The natural ecosystems have continued to yield food, medicines, fuel, wood, and materials for crafts, and have provided for their cultural and spiritual well-being. The country's rich biodiversity and associated ecosystems are, however, under threat from land use changes, resulting mainly from agricultural expansion, mining, urban expansion, tourism, pollution of water and air, invasive alien species, unsustainable harvesting of natural resources, and the related impacts of climate change. To address these challenges and ensure conservation and sustainable use, the government of Zimbabwe has adopted various measures which has resulted in domestication of the CBD and its protocols. We also talk about the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna and the Convention on Migratory Species, among many others. At the international level, the government has enacted various environmental legislation and adopted policies and plans that create enabling conditions for biodiversity conservation, sustainable use, as well as fair, equitable sharing of benefits arising from these genetic resources. Furthermore, as part of the new development planning process that I have highlighted above, we are working with key partners to ensure we strengthen biodiversity information management. This is crucial to ensure that future decisions on biodiversity and development will be based on information and proper science-based evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabwe subscribes to the principle of sustainable utilization, not only of wildlife, but all its natural resources. Sustainable utilization tries to balance conservation benefits with needs and expectations of the people who live with wildlife. This approach recognizes that the future survival of wildlife depends on its relationship with local communities. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my gratitude to the Zimbabwe Youth Biodiversity Network, the Africa Wildlife Foundation, and other key players for the continued support to our efforts. Let's continue to work together to ensure we sustainably manage our natural resources for today and tomorrow. Let me take this opportunity to remind you that your input as young people is very important, as some of you will be the ones who will be implementing this new global biodiversity framework in the future. And for our part, as the National Biodiversity Focal Point, we pledge that we will continue to work in full partnership with young people and other partners to promote the protection of biodiversity in Zimbabwe. I wish you fruitful discussions in this workshop. We look forward to get a final record of the proceedings of this important workshop. I thank you all. Thank you, colleagues. I hope you were hearing me. It was quite a lengthy speech, but it was necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mundoga, for a very clear and elaborate speech. There were keywords when you were ending, and you said, we hope that your input will be very critical for the youths, as some of us or some of them will be key to the implementations of this new deal. So thank you so much, Mr. Mundoga. This was very fruitful. This is a key opening statement, and I'm assuming there won't be much questions on this. So as we go on, maybe people wanted to connect with you. Is there any other key address that you want to give to people, or we can go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Vingi. I think for now, let's go ahead. I know people are itching to contribute. Remember, this is not our workshop as a ministry. We want to hear from you. We just want to hear from the youth. So I think let's move forward. Like I indicated, we definitely going to be interested in getting the outcome of this meeting. So I think we can proceed. Knowledge.
Mr. Mundoga.